You may proceed, Ms. Drain.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am. Could you please tell us your occupation?
I'm a supervisor with the Osceola County Sheriff's Office,
What type of supervisor?
patrol supervisor.
Okay. How long have you worked with the Osceola County Sheriff?
It's over 16 years.
Okay. What sort of assignments have you had with Osceola?
I started out in patrol. I spent several years in the traffic unit. I spent about a year and a half in a tactical unit, plain clothes, and then back to patrol when I was promoted. And most recently, still in patrol as collateral duty, handling the canine.
All right. Tell us a little bit about that collateral duty handling a canine. How long have you been doing that for the Osceola County Sheriff's Office?
Since 2005, it's not my primary duty. My primary duty is a patrol supervisor, and the collateral duty is handling the canine on-call as-needed basis.
All right. Would this be canine Bones?
Yes, ma'am.
You have been Bones handler since 2005?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know the background of Bones prior to your obtaining him?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. And where did Bones come from?
The Orange County Sheriff's Office.
Prior to the arrival of Bones at the Osceola County Sheriff's Office, did you yourself do any training?
Yes, ma'am. It was kind of a hobby for me to train dogs in protection, obedience, and article tracking.
Your Honor, may we have a moment?
You may. You may proceed.
Sergeant Brewer, we were talking about any sort of background or training you had with the handling of canines prior to Bones' arrival at the Osceola County Sheriff's Office in 2005.
Correct.
I missed your answer because of the delay, but can you repeat that for me, please?
I did canine training as kind of a hobby, which was protection, obedience, and article tracking.
All right. Independent of your position with the Osceola County Sheriff.
That's correct.
So in 2005, when the Sheriff's Office acquired Bones, were you the person initially assigned to train with him?
Yes.
Was it your understanding at that point that Bones himself had already undergone a period of training?
That's correct.
Okay. Are you familiar with Jason Forgy with the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
When Bones was acquired by the Osceola County Sheriff, did his paperwork, training paperwork, go with him?
Yes, I have everything that Deputy Forgy had provided to me for his training. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you the individual who is then responsible for maintaining the record of whether it's veterinary records or training records for canine Bones?
Yes.
Okay. Are you the individual who has created those records since 2005 during the training and operation outcomes with Bones?
Yes, ma'am.
If I may approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
I will be showing you what's been marked as OJ for identification. Have you take a look at this composite exhibit and tell me if those are true and accurate copies of the majority of Bones records, excluding veterinary records.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this point, I would seek to introduce the composite exhibit OJ for identification into evidence.
What says the defense?
Just renew all previous motions and objections.
May I see the exhibit for a second, please? Okay, they will be received in evidence of objections as states numbered
163.
Sergeant Brewer, what sort of training did you do with Bones upon his arrival at the Osceola County Sheriff?
The first basic thing we need to do is bond with the dog, get to know the dog. Spent several weeks just playing ball with him. I contacted, Deputy 4G was in contact with me, and he met with me to let me know any problems that he has as far as his temperament or how he was trained. And we actually met a few times going over how he did his cadaver searches.
Right. After that initial period of bonding and then your getting to know or understand Bones' methodology, did the two of you engage in regular training sessions?
Yes, ma'am.
How often?
Sometimes it was several hours a week.
Okay. When you put Bones through those sessions, did you record each of those instances?
Record as in writing?
Write it in a training log, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At some point during the training process, did you and Bones attend schools that were independent of the Osceola County Sheriff?
Yes, ma'am, several.
Okay. Can you tell us the first training program that you and Bones attended as a team?
The first school that we attended was a school put on by Andy Redmond, which was a basic cadaver course.
Right. Andy Redmond is somebody that is recognized in your field as an authority on cadaver dog training.
Yes, ma'am, you could say that.
If I may approach the witness.
You may.
One of the documents, actually the top document on states 163 in evidence. Can you identify what that is?
That's the certificate that myself and Bones received from the completion of the course from Andy Redmond in
When did
Marshall
it-
County.
When did that take place?
November 7th through the 13th of 2005.
What was required of you and Bones in that course?
They had to make sure that the dog was familiar with the odor, was able to find odor, was able to give his final trained alert on odor.
Okay. That's a multi-day course?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What sort of environments is Bones exposed to in that course?
As far as, you mean search areas or?
Yes, ma'am.
Woods, high grass, clay, dirt, pavement, again, normal grass. That's about it.
All right. During those training sessions, do you know where the target odor is located?
Some of them we did, some of them we did not.
All right. Did you record in writing Bones' performance at the Canine Specialty Search Associates Basic Cadaver Search School?
Yes, there should be a section for the school.
Okay. In that part of the record, would you have indicated whether or not Bones had any false alerts?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If he had any misses,
Correct.
and if he found the target object finds?
Correct.
You record all of those things.
That's correct.
All right. Do you recall Bones' performance at that school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what was it?
He performed fairly well. The instructor said that he saw no problem in his searching ability.
All right. Did he have any false alerts?
Not that I can recall, no, ma'am.
All right. You would have recorded if he did?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he have any misses?
I don't believe so, but to the best of my recollection, no.
You would have recorded if he did?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And was he able to find all of the targets that it was intended for him to find?
Yes.
What sort of training aids have you used with Bones?
Bones has been trained on human blood, placenta, human bone, human tissue, teeth, semen. That's about it.
Okay. You said that you and Bones attended several schools.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Can you tell the members of the jury what the next training school was that you attended?
I would have to probably refer to the certificates that I have.
Your Honor, may the witness refresh her recollection as to the order of the schools with the records that she brought with her?
Yes, you may.
I believe the next one was a water seminar from November 2nd to November 4th of 2007.
All right. And what is Bones required to do, or what are the two of you required to do at that seminar?
In a water seminar, all your targets are in the water, either on top of the water, on shoreline, or submerged in the water. And basically, you have to put the dog on a boat and be able to take him out to the area. And he needs to be able to locate the source in the water and be able to alert to it.
And when we're talking about a target or a source, we're talking about some form of human remains.
Correct.
Were a variety of sources utilized at both this seminar and the prior that you discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you keep a written record in your logs of Bones' performance at the water, human remains detection in water seminar in November of 2007?
Yes, ma'am. It should be in the logbook.
All right. This is where you would have recorded whether or not he had any false alerts,
Yes, ma'am.
any misses,
Correct.
and whether or not he was able to locate all of the targets in water in this one.
Correct.
Do you recall whether or not Bones had any false alerts?
No, ma'am. Not that I recall.
Okay. Any misses?
No, ma'am.
And was Bones able to locate all of the intended targets?
Yes.
Okay. If I show you the next document in this series. Can you identify that for the members of the jury?
It's a certificate of completion for myself and Canine Bones for a seminar from November 2nd to November 4th of 2007. Human remains detection in water.
All right. There's a photograph on there. Is that him?
Yes, it is.
In between these training opportunities provided to you and Bones, you continue to train
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well as work as needed?
That's correct.
Okay. During that process, do you use a variety of items that are referred to as distractors or distraction devices to ensure that he will continually not alert to material that you don't want him to alert to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What sort of distractors or distraction sources have you utilized in training Bones?
We've used different toys that he may be attracted to, dog treats, food, and animal remains.
Okay. How about other animal scents such as urine or feces?
We have not trained specifically using both of those, but he's more than likely exposed to that almost every search.
Okay. Are there usually multiple dogs that are called out on searches?
Yes.
Okay. And when he goes to these schools, is he exposed to multiple dogs in these environments?
Yes, ma'am.
When you talk about food being used to train him off of, so he's not alerting to any food sources, would that include dairy products, cheese? Do you remember?
I can't recall specifically.
Okay. Have you ever had any problems since you've been Bones' handler with Bones alerting to food sources of any kind?
No, ma'am.
When was Bones' next formal training session, aside from the regular maintenance training that you do?
I believe it was the advanced land in March of 2009.
Okay, and where was that held?
Various locations in Osceola County.
And who sponsored that?
It was an organization called Country Class Canines, Lisa Higgins' organization.
All right, and who is that?
She's also pretty much an authority on and a master trainer with cadaver dogs.
Okay, somebody that your discipline recognizes as authoritative with long history of successful training
Yes,
of
ma'am.
canines.
Yes.
What was required of Bones during that training period?
Same as the others. Usually consisted of buried, hanging, surface. I don't believe there's any water involved in this one. Different depths, different training aids, different sources at various levels of decomp.
All right. Now, when you say hanging, what do you mean?
We actually put the source in a tree, usually.
Okay. Can you tell the members of the jury what Bones' final trained alert is?
His final train alert is a sit.
Okay. If you have a source that's hanging in a tree, how would Bones indicate to you that he has detected the odor of human remains that are likely above him somewhere?
Normally what he does is he tries to pinpoint it on the ground first. Once he realizes that it's not on the ground, he will actually lift his head up to try to sniff above him. He usually can't see it. We try not to let him be able to see the source, but he's able to determine that that source is actually hanging in the tree, and he will sit right below it.
What was the date of that training?
It was 3/19 of '09 was the completion date. It's also his NDDA certification date.
We'll have you explain that in a second. Let me go with some of the documents. Documents titled repeat that for me.
Country Class K9s.
Are those that are associated with Bones training that you've described?
Yes, ma'am.
Including certificates of completion and his performance record at the seminar.
That's correct.
Okay, you mentioned there was some other certification associated with this training program.
Yes, this is NNDDA certification.
And what does that stand for?
It's National Narcotic Detector Dog Association, but it has a branch for cadaver certifications.
All right. This is, as the name implies, a national group that certifies specialty dogs in all disciplines.
I believe, I know cadaver and narcotics. I'm not sure about bomb work.
When did Bones attend that training opportunity?
It was at the end of that seminar that we discussed. The first certification was 3/19 of '09.
So I may again approach the witness. Let me take a look at this series of documents from those submitted as a composited evidence. Are those the NND? You'll have to repeat that for me.
NNDDA.
Would those be Bones certificates and performance records from that seminar?
Yes, it is.
How long does the certification by the NNDDA last?
I believe it's documented in the certification book. I can't be for certain. It says 1 year from the certification date.
Has Bones been trained on what I will call residual odor, where either a body or some other type of human remains were placed on a surface or in a location? That item was then removed, and then Bones was asked to determine whether or not the odor of human remains had stayed at a particular location.
Yes, ma'am, he has.
All right. How was that accomplished? Do you recall?
We've had a couple training opportunities where we actually took whole human blood, put it on ceramic tile, and wiped it clean, and he was able to determine which tile the blood had been located on. He's also had a couple training opportunities where bodies had been, and they had been removed by the medical examiner, and we actually trained on those locations also. And he was able to alert to the location where a body had been located at one point.
Okay. What sort of reward, if any, is Bones given when he makes a successful find?
Tennis ball.
Is he ever rewarded with food?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because he's given food or treats just as for being a dog, so his favorite reward is his tennis ball.
Okay. In your records, you not only include the maintenance training where you know where the source of the odor of human remains comes from, but you also keep track of Bones' real-world performance when you all go out on calls. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you had the opportunity to review those records to determine which of them involve real-world calls?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have that information available to you that you could tell the jury what dates Bones was called out on a search and what the results of that were?
Of successful searches?
Successful or unsuccessful?
Yes, ma'am. They're in the book.
All right. If I could draw your attention to August 23rd, 2005.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have a record of Bones being called out for a search?
Yes.
Okay. Did Bones alert on that day?
No, he did not.
Okay. Was the area in question nonetheless dug and some item was found?
Yes.
What was found?
A deceased dog.
If I could draw your attention to May 1st, 2006.
Okay.
Was Bones called out to a location to determine whether or not the scent of human remains was present?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you receive an alert on that day?
No.
Was the area nonetheless dug,
It was searched.
searched, and was anything found?
There was a dead animal located.
If I can draw your attention to May 10th of 2006. Was Bones called out on that date?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did he alert to the scent of human remains?
No, he did not.
Okay. Was the area nonetheless searched or dug?
It was dug.
And was anything located?
A deceased dog.
If I could draw your attention to May 5th of 2006. Did I say September 5th?
May. Right.
Oh, sorry, I transposed those. September 5th of 2006.
You said 9/6?
9506.
9506. Okay.
All right. Was Bones called out on that date to determine whether or not the scent of human remains was present?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Did you get an alert from Bones on that day?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Was the area nonetheless searched or dug?
It was searched.
Okay. Was anything found?
A dead possum.
If I can draw your attention to June 6th of 2009. Was Bones called to determine whether or not human remains were present in any particular area?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Did you receive an alert from Bones on that date?
No.
Okay. Was the area nonetheless searched or dug?
It was searched.
Was anything found?
Small animal remains.
All right. Have you had occasion during your tenure with Bones for Bones to falsely alert on any particular occasion?
No, ma'am.
Have you had situations where Bones has alerted and human remains were located?
Yes, ma'am.
If I could draw your attention to March 31st of 2007. Okay. Do your records or does your memory reflect that Bones was called to a location on that date?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did Bones alert to anything in particular on that day?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Can you tell the members of the jury the circumstances of that alert?
He located several small bone fragments from a skeleton that had been removed, and they were searching for the remaining pieces of the skeleton. He was able to find a couple pieces of skeleton.
Based on Bones alerts.
Yes.
If I can draw your attention to October 8th of 2007.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that another call that Bones went out on?
Yes, it was.
Can you tell the members of the jury the circumstances of that call?
We had information that there was possibly a body buried in the woods that had been there for approximately 2 to 3 weeks.
And what happened?
He was able to search the area and alerted exactly on the area where the body was later dug up.
If I can draw your attention to October 28th of 2007.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you and Bones called out on that date?
Yes.
Can you tell the members of the jury the circumstances of that call?
There was an elderly female that had not been heard from in some time. They called us out to do a sniff of the exterior of the residence, and he was able to alert just on the other side of the wall where they later located the elderly female deceased.
If I could call your attention to November 30th of 2007. Did you and Bones receive a call out that date?
Yes.
Okay. Where did that take place?
In a landfill in Highlands County.
Okay. As the name implies, is this a landfill of garbage?
Yes.
All manner of garbage?
Yes. Just
Okay. Did you deploy Bones into the landfill?
yes, ma'am. It was several days.
Several days?
Several days searching.
Okay. Did Bones alert to any items in the landfill?
Yes, he did.
What did he alert to?
He alerted to a comforter that was a baby had been born on that was later discarded in the trash. He was able to find the comforter that she had been born on.
Can I draw your attention to March 26th of 2008? When you find that, could you tell me if you and Bones were called out to conduct a search on that date?
Yes.
Okay. Where did that take place?
It was off the 528 in Orange County.
Okay. Can you tell the members of the jury what had occurred during that call-out?
A skeleton had been found, or at least a human skull had been found previously by someone mowing the grass. We were called out to search the area for additional bones, and he was able to alert on some additional bones in the area.
Let me draw your attention to May 14th of 2009.
Yes, ma'am.
were you and Bones called out to a water search?
That's correct.
Okay, can you tell the members of the jury the circumstances of that event?
A young male had not made it back to shore and was presumed that he had drowned. We did a boat search of a large lake. He alerted to a specific area where they dropped a buoy, and later on the dive team was able to recover his body in that area.
Can I draw your attention to February 9th of 2010, where you and Bones called out to participate in a search or rescue? Search.
Yes.
Okay, can you tell the members of the jury the circumstances of that event?
A body had been burned in the area. He was able to alert to the area within a few feet of where the body was located.
Okay, and finally, December 20th of 2010, where you and Bones called out to participate in a search.
Yes.
Okay, can you tell the members of the jury the results of that?
The information was that 2 bodies had been buried in the same hole. They had been there for over 2 years. It was an orange grove. He was able to alert in the area, which was later dug, and both bodies recovered.
Since Bones is a single-purpose dog, how often does he get called out to participate in searches?
Quite often, we do a lot of out-of-county searches. We've actually been out of the state also.
Is it your experience with Bones that many of the searches result in no alert at all?
That's correct.
How is it that you are able to tell when Bones has some interest in an area prior to his trained final alert of a sit?
Well, because I've worked for him for such a long time, he does give me some indicators. Sometimes he will pick his head up to try to pinpoint where the area is. His tail will fluff up bigger if he's in odor. He may paw at the surface dirt to try to get a better scent of what may be below it. He will leave me and not come back when he's called because he's so interested in finding the odor that he will actually stay there trying to pinpoint where it is.
Okay. Would these be changes in behavior that you note prior to when he alerts, if he is ultimately to alert at all?
Yeah, that's correct.
Your Honor, may we approach?
You may. You may proceed.
Thank you. Sergeant Brewer, were you called to assist in an investigation regarding the disappearance of Caylee Marie Anthony?
Yes.
Do you recall where you responded to?
The address on Hope Spring Drive?
Okay. Did you understand that to be the address of the grandparents of Caylee Marie Anthony?
After my arrival, yes.
Okay. What was the date and time of your arrival?
7/17,
2008?
2008. It was approximately 8 o'clock in the evening.
Okay. At that time of year, was it still light enough for you to conduct whatever search was being requested?
It was pretty dark already. There was a little bit of light left when I got there, but not much during the search.
Okay. Does that inhibit your dog's ability to conduct the search?
No.
When you arrived, what did you do first with Bones?
When I arrived, I met with Deputy Forgy, and he said the search area was going to be the backyard. We initially went back there without the dog, and he said, "This is your search area." He said that we just want the backyard searched, and that was the only information that he gave me.
All right. Based on the response you just gave, I take it you were not told whether any prior searches conducted by K-9 resulted in an alert?
No, I did ask Deputy Forgy if he had run his dog, which he said he did, but that was the only information that he gave.
Okay. Why was that information important to you?
Just so I know if there had been another dog back there.
If you would explain to the members of the jury what you did with Bones on July 17th of 2008.
We walked back to the backyard with Bones on lead as we went through the gate, which if you're looking at the residence would be on the left side of the residence. We went through the gate. The entire backyard was fenced in. Just past the gate, I put Bones's search collar on, which is a heavier collar, indication to him that we're going to search. I took him off lead and gave him his command to do his search of the area.
Okay.
He immediately did a quick search of the yard. He went around where there was a swimming pool, and then he went back towards the screened-in porch. He checked a couple corners of the area. His nose was down. He spent approximately 3 to 4 minutes searching in the backyard. I saw that there was an area of interest that he kept going back to and sniffing pretty hard. He finally came back to that same area after making another lap of the yard and gave a final trained indication in one location in the backyard.
Okay. What indication was given?
He sat.
Okay. This is the trained final alert that you described earlier?
Yes.
Do you recall where in the yard you got the trained final alert from Bones?
Yes.
Okay. If I may publish to the jury 43 in evidence.
You may.
Sergeant Brewer, does the photograph displayed in 43 in evidence show the area that you were just describing as the location of the trained final alert from Bones?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The monitor in front of you is a telestrator. Can you indicate to the members of the jury where you got the trained final alert?
It's basically in that area right there.
Okay. What happens after you get the trained final alert?
I had put Bones up and spoke to Deputy Forgy, who indicated to me at that time that his dog had alerted and within probably 6 to 8 feet of where Bones' alert was.
Okay. Do you return the next day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you return the next day, had it become apparent to you that the surface had been disturbed in some fashion?
Yes.
What did you see?
There was a lot of dirt, mulch, pavers. There was several crime scene units in the backyard working, changed the landscape quite a bit.
All right. So it's your understanding that the members of the Orange County Sheriff's Office had been disturbing the dirt?
Yes, they were present upon my arrival.
Okay. Did you run Bones through the same process on that date?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what result did you receive then?
No alerts.
Okay. Do you have some opinion as to why that occurred on day 2?
Whatever he was alerting to could have been moved or destroyed or dissipated because of all the work that had been done. Or they may just not have dug enough to find what may have been below the surface.
All right. Thank you. I have no other questions of the witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
May it please the court? Mr. Reagan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Sergeant Brewer.
Morning.
Before we get into what you did in this case, I want to ask you something so we could kind of clarify something for the jury. The alerts that a cadaver dog does, they're not, you don't give individual commands to find me some bones, correct? Or find me decomp fluid, or find me blood, correct?
That's correct.
And it's just one command
Right.
when you deploy the dog. And many times, well, actually, let me rephrase that. A dog can alert on fluid or something decomposing from a live person, could they not?
Yes, if it's out of the body.
Anything out of the body that is now decomposing, even though the person's alive, the dog could alert to.
Yes.
Okay. So if I have a drop of blood from a fingernail or something comes out, that blood begins to decompose and the dog could alert to that.
That's correct.
In fact, when you are trained to deploy dogs on vehicles, for example, for training, your training tells you not to use old cars because you don't know the history of those cars, right?
We try to use something, a known source, known that's not contaminated.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Can you,
We try to use something that we know may not have.
right, something that you know the history of, because you don't know if this car's been in an accident, right?
Correct.
You don't know if somebody cut their finger or had any bleeding in any location.
Correct.
And you don't know if someone bled on a rag and that was thrown in the trunk or something like that.
Right.
So there's any number of scenarios that makes the dog more of a tool as opposed to a conclusive indicator of human decomposition, especially when you don't have a body.
Right. He's trained to find the strongest source, whatever it might be.
Okay. Now, I'd like to talk to you about the work you did in this case. Can we have that last photo? I'm showing you now State's Exhibit 43. I'm sorry, State's Evidence 43. And this, can we publish that to the jury, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is that up? Oh. I'm getting better as we go along. Now, this is an area you circled where you had indicated your dog alerted to,
Yes.
correct? You also testified that Sergeant Forgy had informed you that his dog alerted 6 to 8 feet away from this.
Correct.
Where did he indicate to you that his dog had alerted?
He didn't show me specifically.
Okay. It couldn't have been 6 to 8 feet to the right, correct?
You'd have, I can't.
Can
I
you
can't
look at the
answer.
photo there and see if there's anything that would block 6 to 8 feet in that direction?
It's not to scale without seeing it. I can't.
From your
I can't
memory
say.
of the backyard, was the house that little house blocking 6 to 8 feet away?
It could have been.
Okay. Deputy Forgy didn't inform you that his dog went in the little house and alerted there, correct?
No.
Sustained.
Now, your understanding from where you were indicated, 6 to 8 feet would either be close to the sidewalk here, correct?
He didn't indicate which direction.
I know, I'm going to give you different possibilities. It could be closer to the sidewalk there, right? To the right?
Speculation.
Overall,
In this direction, correct?
It could be.
And it could also be this direction, correct?
Could be.
And that would be closer to the swimming pool?
I believe so. I'd have to say a photo to say for sure.
Your memory of that backyard, would this area be closer to the swimming pool?
I know the swimming pool would have been behind us at that point.
Right. The swimming pool's not in this direction,
Correct.
and it's not over here.
Correct.
It's more over here. In that direction, correct?
I think the first arrow would have been more.
Yeah, the thing went a little haywire on me at the end, but right in this direction, correct?
From my recollection, yes.
Now, you were there for 2 days, right?
Yes.
And you never deployed your dog inside the house, did you?
No.
Were you instructed you couldn't do that?
No. I actually was working with the Orange County Sheriff's Office, so I basically deployed where they had asked me to.
What about the back patio where, do you recall a patio before you enter into the house?
Screened-in porch, yes.
Yes, screened-in porch. Were you allowed to deploy your dog in there?
They didn't ask me to.
Did you, though?
No.
Now, the 2 days you were there, you never took the dog in the house to maybe see if there might be some evidence of decomposition in the home?
No. But again, not my case, so I did the searches that they had asked me to.
Are you aware if any cadaver dog searches were ever done inside the home?
I can't answer for that. I'm not sure if Deputy Forgy did.
So the answer is no, you're not aware of any searches that were inside the home.
Not that I was advised of.
If I can have just one moment, Judge.
You may.
I have nothing further. Thank you, Sergeant Brewer.
Thank you.
Redirect?
Detective Osborne, have you been able to locate the printed information that you had contained on disk regarding the photo displayed in States 12 in evidence?
I have located it, yes, ma'am.
Was this photograph among a collection of photos that were given to you on a thumb drive by Detective Yuri Melich as originating from the Globe?
Yes,
Were you ultimately able to determine whether or not the photo in 12 that was on the thumb drive was on Mr. Morales' computer?
I was, and it was located on both. I found them they were on the thumb drive and on the computer.
Now, you had testified about the ability to determine when a photograph is taken based on data embedded in the photograph.
Correct.
Okay. Were you able to determine, based on embedded data, when the photograph in States 12 was taken? Just give me the day, month, and year.
The day, month, and year that the camera was set to when it took the photograph was January 28th, 2008.
All right. And when you say the camera, the date that the camera was set to, you didn't actually have the camera available to you to determine whether or not the settings were consistent with the current time.
I did not. It was not submitted for analysis.
If I could show the witness States 13 in evidence and permission to publish to the jury at the same time.
You may.
Can you see that?
I can.
All right. Was this photograph likewise provided on the thumb drive by Detective Yuri Melich?
At this time, as to the dates indicated.
Approach the bench.
Yes, sir.
Objection overruled.
Detective Osborne, do you recall my last question?
About the date and the time?
Not the time, the date that the photograph in States 13 was taken. the date that the camera was set to when the photograph was,
Yes, the date the camera was set to,
I think that question goes to the witness testifying about the camera, not the photograph that it was intended.
let me start over.
Yes, rephrase the question.
All right. Do you recognize 13 in evidence?
yes,
All right. Did that photograph appear on a thumb drive provided to you by Detective Yuri Melich?
yes,
Were you able to identify the same photograph on Ricardo Morales's computer?
yes,
Okay. Can you tell from the information provided by the computer what type of camera took this photograph?
yes,
Okay. Was that information embedded in the photograph itself?
yes.
What type of camera took the photograph?
A Canon PowerShot SD870.
Was other information embedded in the photograph?
Yes,
Is the information related to the date and time that the camera was set to when the photograph was taken embedded in the photograph?
yes.
What date and time, I'm sorry, what date? You don't need to give me the time. What date was the camera set to when the photograph was taken?
March 19th, 2008.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no other questions of the witness.
Cross-examination?
Good morning, ma'am.
Sir,
It's Sergeant Osborne, correct?
detective.
Oh, detective, okay, sorry. Detective Osborne, I just want to clear up a couple things with the users' profiles on the computer, okay? There are 2 profiles on this computer, correct?
User-created profiles, yes.
And that doesn't mean that only 2 people are using this computer, correct?
Correct.
And in fact, there are various searches on both profiles, are there not? Various types of searches?
Internet searches?
Yes.
I would assume so. Yes, I found searches.
And there could be multiple users using one profile, is that correct?
Correct.
And a password only means something if, one, that person's not told anyone else what the password is, right?
Correct.
And 2, the computer is turned off after that password is utilized and computer activity is done.
Okay.
All right. Is that a yes, or?
Yes.
All right. So if I have a password protected area, which is the owner portion of the owner profile, not the Casey profile, right?
Yes.
If I'm using the owner profile and I log in and the computer stays on and it just, I guess, goes to sleep or whatever, I don't have to relog the password in, do I?
It depends on the setting on the computer. If the computer hibernates or sleeps or in some form or fashion resets itself, the password can be set to reset itself after a minute or 30 minutes or 5 hours or all day. It depends on the setting on the computer.
But you don't know or can't testify as to any of that information, can you?
I didn't ascertain that on this computer, no, sir.
Okay. So as far as you know, someone could type in the password, leave it on, and anyone else can come use the computer and not have to enter in a password.
As far as I know, that's correct.
And you mentioned that you had found, done a keyword search for chloroform. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Do you have the date and time that was run?
I believe that was around August the 20th. I don't know that I did the exact date, but it was around August 20th or shortly thereafter of 2008.
But do you have the date and time that you believe these searches were run?
That would be incorporated in the temporary internet file history, which I did not examine. My sergeant examined that, so I can't testify as to that.
Okay, so you have no information on that area.
Not that I'm prepared to testify to, no, sir.
Understood. And what we were talking about as far as the camera was concerned, you never saw the camera.
Which camera?
The camera, I'm sorry. The camera of the photos that we showed the jury just recently.
The Canon PowerShot?
Yes.
I did not see that camera, no.
Okay. And you don't know if the time settings were correct.
Nope.
In fact, you don't know if this person even bothered setting the time when they purchased the camera.
I do not.
And many people are a little, many people find setting the time on like VCRs and cameras somewhat difficult, do they not?
Sustained.
If you know, ma'am.
Sustained. Next question.
Does every camera that you inspect and every computer have the exact time set?
No.
I can have just a moment. I want to check and see if I have any other questions for you. Now, it was you who inspected Ricardo Morales' computer,
Yes.
and you ran searches. If I can just have a moment. Do you have that report with you? Did you prepare?
Yes.
Now, you were asked to run searches for chloroform on Ricardo Morales' computer, was it not?
Yes.
Were you not? And you indicated that there were also no photographs of chloroform on his computer.
Correct. My report specifically says I didn't find any web pages or pictures referencing chloroform on that computer.
Yes. Yes. I will now show you what's been admitted into evidence as Defense Exhibit 1, or Defense Evidence 1. Are you familiar with this photograph?
It's not on the screen, I just put it on.
Oh, thank you.
It's published. You want that published to the jury?
Yes, may I, Your Honor?
Okay.
Make it small, or zoom it out.
I'm sorry, you asked if I recognize this picture?
Yes.
I've seen it, yes.
Okay. And are you aware that this was posted on Ricardo Morales' MySpace account?
No, I'm not.
And I know you can only see one portion of it, but can you read to the ladies and gentlemen, or read into the record what it says?
Win her over with chloroform.
And what does it indicate to you? It's the photo.
Your Honor, I'm going to object, asking her to speculate what it indicates to her.
Sustained.
What do you see in the photograph?
What's depicted in the photograph is a couple, a man and a woman. A woman is sitting at the chair, apparently dining in a black evening gown. The man is looking over her shoulder with a white cloth in his hand, reaching around behind her shoulder.
And if Ricardo Morales posted this on his MySpace, that would have been from another computer that you did not examine?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, if you didn't find this photograph on the computer that you examined, does that mean it was deleted, or how can you explain not
Just
having
because-
this? Let me finish the question for her. Can you explain to us, because I may not be aware, of how this photograph wouldn't show up on your inspection if he posted this on his MySpace?
There are several reasons why this would not appear on his computer, or I did not find it on his computer if he posted it on a MySpace. There are multiple ways you can post on MySpace. One of the most common ways would be on someone else's computer, or from a phone, or from some other access other than the computer that I'm examining. Just because I did not find this particular photograph on his computer at the time I examined it does not mean that it was never there. It just means that it was not there at the time I examined it. So if it was deleted and overwritten, then I would not have found it.
So it could have been deleted in the unallocated space.
And
Overwritten.
And overwritten if I didn't find it.
And that could be pretty much with any of the computer searches that you did dealing with the unallocated space, correct?
That's correct.
I may not have any further questions. Justice. I have no further questions. Thank you, Detective
Yes, sir.
Osborne.
Thank you. Detective Osborne, if you are doing a keyword search, would the pixels embedded in the picture be accessible in the keyword search?
No. The pixels are represented in a hexadecimal value, which are not readable to me. When you look at the physical view of a picture, it's jumbled up, garbage looking, and it's not discernible in human readable form. No.
All right. So words embedded in a picture are not going to appear in a keyword search. Is that correct?
That's correct. In this case, the word chloroform does not appear as a word. It appears as part of the pixelated picture, so it would not have appeared to me.
Was it your testimony on cross that the keyword search for items in the internet the temporary history, in any of the cookies in the unallocated space, the allocated space of Ricardo Morales' computer did not contain any chloroform references?
That's correct.
Thank you. That's all I wanted to follow up with.
Recross only in those areas and those areas alone.
In your report, you specify that there are no search hits for the word chloroform, correct?
That's correct. There were no references to the word chloroform, pictures, or web pages referencing the chloroform.
That was my next question. So there were no pictures referencing chloroform.
Not that I found, no, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
May the detective be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Detective. You may be excused.
Kevin Stinger, Stenger.
You may proceed.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please tell the members of the jury how you are employed.
I am the Sergeant of Computer Crimes with the Orange County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you worked for the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
Just about 25 years.
How long have you been in the computer crimes unit? I imagine 25 years ago that didn't exist.
That's correct. The computer crimes unit was formed in 2002, and I was the first sergeant.
As the sergeant in that unit, what are your regular responsibilities?
My unit is responsible for the investigation of computer crimes such as hacking, the possession of child pornography, and the vast majority of our duties are the examination of people's computers, cell phones, and PDAs for evidence.
What sort of education or background do you have that qualifies you for the position that you currently hold with the Orange County Sheriff?
Sergeant, pull your microphone down a little bit. Thank you.
I have a graduate certificate in computer forensics and a master's degree in digital forensics from the University of Central Florida.
Do you belong to any other organizations or any organizations dealing with the issue of computer forensics?
I'm a member of the International Association of Computer Investigative Specialists. I began my training with them in 1996. Since then, I have either attended training or presented at all of their conferences. Since that date, I have been a certification coach,
What is
a
that?
regional manager of certification, and I am currently the division administrator of certification for that organization.
All right. When you refer to certification being a coach or in some sort of administrative capacity in relation to certification, what is it that you do?
I assist other members of our organization, new members of our organization, in training and obtaining their credentials to become a certified forensic computer examiner.
Have you yourself attended many trainings in the area?
I have. As I've stated, I've attended all the conferences of IASIS since 1996. In addition, I've attended training through guidance software, both in classes and in conferences, where I have not only attended training, but I've presented training classes. I've also attended training through classes put on by a company called Access Data and another company called SciQuest. I've presented classes for the University of Central Florida, both as a guest lecturer and as a subject matter expert.
Have you ever had the opportunity to testify in court as an expert in the area of computer forensics?
I've testified in both state and federal court as an expert in computer forensics.
Your Honor, at this time, we would tender the witness for either voir dire or submission as an expert who can give opinions.
No objection, sir.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Sergeant Stinger will be accepted as an expert witness in the area of forensic computer analysis. You may proceed.
Thank you. Sergeant Stenger, in connection with your employment at the Orange County Sheriff's Office, were you supervising Sandra Osborne in the recovery of information from an HP computer seized or given to the Sheriff's Office by the Anthony family?
I was.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury what your role was in this endeavor?
As far as the examination goes, I would review Detective Osborne's work. In the field, it's referred to as peer review, where you have somebody else go back over your examination. In addition, if Detective Osborne encountered something that she was unfamiliar with, I would assist her.
All right. Were you made aware of a keyword search for chloroform that was done on the HP?
I was.
Once you were made aware of that search, did you take an active role in an attempt to preserve the information found as a result of the keyword search?
I did. Detective Osborne observed a search hit for the word chloroform on the computer and asked my assistance in identifying in what context that word appeared. She knew it was an internet search, but she was unfamiliar with the structure of what it was in. This particular keyword search was in what is called unallocated space.
What is that?
Many of you, I'm sure, are aware that when you delete a file, it is not necessarily gone. The best analogy I have for you as far as what unallocated space is a library. Many people use different types of analogies, but the library is probably the easiest. Hopefully most of you remember back in the days when they had card catalogs. You used to go and look up the name of your book in the card catalog. You would then find out where that book was stored on the shelf. Computers use something similar. In order for the computer to find a file, it has to essentially look up the name of that file before it can go out on the hard drive and locate it. What happens when something becomes unallocated is that that card, that entry, essentially gets destroyed. And there is no longer any reference to where that particular file is on the hard drive. However, the data out there is still there. That book is still on the shelf. So the information was still out there. I recognized what type of file that was from the structure as an internet history record from Mozilla Firefox. It is an old version of Mozilla in what is called a MORC database. And yes, supposedly the developer of the program was evidently a fan of the television show.
Okay. So what is Mozilla Firefox?
It is an internet history browser. I'm sure most of everybody is familiar with Microsoft's Internet Explorer. Mozilla Firefox is another type of internet history browser.
Do you have knowledge as to whether or not this internet history browser automatically deletes files from its history? Does it clear the history on its own, or is that done manually by a user?
I am not aware that it clears records automatically. It's possible, I would imagine, to set it to do so, but normally it does not do it automatically.
Right. If not done automatically, is there some size limit after which some action is taken by the program?
There could be a size limit. If there is for that version, I am not aware of it.
Okay. In the absence of an automatic deletion by the program, how would someone get rid of their internet search history?
There are options in most internet search programs to delete your internet history. A user can normally select those at any time to dump their history records.
Okay. But as you indicated, even if you physically or manually dump your internet history, it's still somewhere on your hard drive.
Until such time as that area of the hard drive is used again for another file, that information will still stay there.
Okay. Do you have knowledge as to whether or not the Mozilla Firefox would store the name of the user profile in the internet history file?
Mozilla Firefox does not store the username.
Do you know of any search engine that would store the username in the deleted history?
The search history from Internet Explorer, Microsoft's Internet Explorer, would keep the username even after it's deleted in the records.
But Mozilla, since Mozilla doesn't do it regularly, it wouldn't be in the deleted history either?
Mozilla Firefox would not record the username in its records. It isn't set up to do that.
So once you were alerted to this bit of information in the unallocated space that you recognized, what action did you take?
I identified where the file started and where it ended, and then I was able to manually extract that information and then begin using a series of different internet history tools to try and read the records that were stored in that internet history file.
How are you able to identify where the file starts and where it ends?
Most files start with a unique group of bytes. It's called a header. Among the information that starts this particular database is very clear. It actually says MORK, M-O-R-K. And then not all files, but a significant number of them also end with a unique group of bytes. That is called a footer. I simply located the header and the footer for this particular type of database and then extracted that information out into a file.
All right. How is that process accomplished where you extract the information and put it into what type of file?
Once I identify where the file begins, I simply have to tell my forensic tool where my information starts and how many bytes long this file is, and then it will manually extract that information for me, and then I can save it into a file name that I create. And then once that file is created, I can then use other tools to examine its contents.
All right. And what tool did you utilize to manually extract the information and save it into another file?
I used a program called EnCase, E-N-C-A-S-E.
All right, once it is extracted and placed into this other file, you indicated that there are forensic tools that you could utilize to attempt to interpret the data.
That's correct.
Okay, and you attempted that in this case, or you did that?
I did that. I used a number of different tools to examine the history records. One of the issues that I discovered was that this particular internet history file spans the date between when daylight savings time switches. And so that at the time, most of the tools I was using when I set my computer's time to either daylight or standard time, half of the record was always an hour off. I subsequently had an opportunity to attend a class put on by a gentleman by the name of John Bradley. He was teaching a class in the use of an internet history tool, Cashback. This tool was able to compensate for the fact that this history record spanned this length of time, and I utilized that in order to show the records a little bit more easily.
Okay. Do you recall, or do your records reflect the dates that spanned this deleted internet history?
I believe I have them written down, if I may look at my notes.
May the witness utilize his report or notes to refresh his recollection as to the exact dates that this history spanned?
I believe it spans the time from March 4th, 2008 through March 21st.
2008?
Yes, ma'am.
Utilizing the tool that you referred to, cashback, is that something that you did yourself?
Yes, I did.
And what information is provided in cashback that was not available in another tool that you had at your disposal?
Primarily, the single largest difference was its ability to show me the dates and times correctly, regardless as how I set my computer. So instead of one half always being an hour off, I got all the records to display correctly, no matter what, whether they were standard time or daylight savings time.
Did you also make a request of Mr. Bradley, the individual from Cashback, to review the data file that you had carved out of the hard drive?
I provided Mr. Bradley with a copy of the file that I had extracted, and he subsequently examined it and provided me with a statement as to his findings.
Were you able to filter information out of the history from 3/4 to 3/21?
I did. I created 2 reports for, I believe, March 17th and March 21st.
And why were those dates filtered out?
Those dates contained information relating to chloroform searches as well as other searches that were done on the internet in Mozilla Firefox.
All right, may I have a moment?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as states OL for identification. Have you take a look at this composite exhibit and tell me if you recognize it.
I do.
What do you recognize it to be?
This is the report from March 17th that I generated using the cashback program.
Let me show you what's been marked as OM for identification and tell me if you recognize that.
I do. This is the cashback report that I generated for March 21st.
Your Honor, at this point in time, I would seek to introduce OM and OL for identification into evidence.
What says the defense?
No objections.
You received an evidence as states numbered.
States OL will become states 165, and ON will become states 166.
You said that the information was provided to Mr. Bradley.
That is correct.
Okay, in what form?
I gave him a copy of the file that I did my examination on, and then he used that same file to do his findings on.
Was the copy that you provided to him an exact copy of what had appeared in the unallocated space of the HP computer?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have no other questions of the witness at this time, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
May it please the court. Ms. Drain. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Sergeant Singer.
Sir.
I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, starting off about unallocated space. First, basically, you're talking about deleted internet history, right?
This file would constitute deleted internet history, yes.
And You don't know when that history was deleted.
No, sir.
In fact, and you don't know anything surrounding the circumstances of why that one would delete their history.
That is correct.
And if your computer's running slow, sometimes you delete your internet history, do you not?
That is correct.
And that's a common method that people use to make their computer go faster?
It is one of the methods, yes, sir.
One of the many things that people do.
Yes, sir.
And these searches were done months before Caylee Anthony went missing, correct?
This would have occurred, as I said, the dates from March 4th to the 21st.
Yes. Which was approximately 3 months prior to her going missing. And the search for chloroform, the very first one that you have shows up at 143:41, correct?
I would actually have to look at those reports to get the exact
Please
date.
go ahead and do so. Thank you.
Approximately what time did you say?
1:43 p.m. and 41 seconds.
That would actually have been 2:43:41 on the 17th.
Got it. So it's an hour.
The hour
difference.
off.
Okay. Now, the next computer activity that you see for that is, would that be some kind of an ad or something like that?
The very next entry is an ad, that is correct.
Okay. And what entry comes up and the time for that?
2:43:48.
So we're talking about a period of 7 seconds that a person is looking at, or that the screen is showing something dealing with chloroform, and then it goes to something else.
No, sir. If you go to something like CNN.com, you might notice that there, or any other large commercial web page, you might notice that there are advertisements running all over that page. What your internet history is, or can record, is the fact that a lot of these ads are appearing from other websites. And the history record is recording that it is downloading that commercial or that advertisement from another site. So even though you haven't navigated off of that page, your computer has obtained the information from that website and placed it in the record.
Of course, you brought this out from the, reconstructed this from the unallocated space to make certain of that, right?
Well, the history record comes from unallocated space.
But you can also extract that page and reconstruct it, can you not?
Under some circumstances you can, but under this circumstance we could not.
Okay. So you don't know what the screen was showing.
There is no way that I could know what that screen was showing.
So it's possible that this person, or whomever it was that was looking at the chloroform, 7 seconds later they were looking at something else.
I would have to say from the address that they did not go to another website, that was simply an ad which appeared on the screen.
At 1:43:59, do you see it go into another address?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what address was that?
Well, at 4351, it's going to MySpace.
Excuse me, sorry about that. You're right. So at the very least, we're talking about, or at the most, we're talking 10 seconds someone was looking at that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So someone is looking at a screen that says that mentions chloroform, and then 10 seconds later they're at MySpace. Is that correct?
Somebody did a search a specific search for the term chloroform, and then subsequently went to a different website.
which is MySpace.
That's correct.
Are you aware of defense evidence 1? May I approach the witness?
You may.
Have you ever seen that photo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is your understanding that photo is?
I've seen the photo.
Okay. Are you aware that photo was on Ricardo Morales' MySpace page?
Yes, sir.
I think based on the direct, those are all the questions that I have that aren't that aren't outside of the scope.
You
Thank
want to
you.
retrieve your exhibit?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sergeant Stenger.
Redirect?
Just one question, I believe. Sergeant Stenger, why can you not reconstruct the page that is appearing in the deleted or unallocated space?
When you go online and you're surfing through the internet, what happens when you go to any particular website, where you went is recorded in a history record, such as what we're discussing here. In addition, all that material that's displayed on your screen, the web page, the pictures, any movies that are on it, sound, is all placed in a separate area. It's often referred to as the cache or temporary internet files. And it's dropped into these folders so that your computer can rebuild what you're seeing on your screen. The difference being is that the record of where you went is kept in one place, and the contents of what you saw is kept in another. What you're seeing can be very complex. It can have a number of different files in order to display whatever it is that you're looking at. And when you delete that information, I may be able to recover the history, but the chances are I may not be able to find all the records and all the files that go into actually reproducing that web page as you saw it on that day.
To your knowledge, is the cashback program able to rebuild that?
Cashback can rebuild web pages, but only from what is called allocated space, where, in other words, the books are all on the shelf. It can find all those files and folders. It can then rebuild them for you. The program cannot extract all those files and folders from unallocated space. And of course, if they were overwritten, it couldn't recover them anyway.
All right. That's all the follow-up I had, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any additional questions on those issues and those issues alone?
Since you can't reconstruct the unallocated space or these pages, you don't know if some of these searches are from blogs or websites that, other than the recognizable ones, you don't know the authors of these websites, do you?
From the history line, you can look at it and you can tell where that keyword search was run from. In the one that you were discussing, sir, it was run from Google, and it was a search that was specific for chloroform.
My question to you, though, is talking about the searches.
Yes,
Since you can't reconstruct the pages, you don't know what was actually written there.
I can't tell you what was displayed on that page when it came up. That is correct.
And you said can't, right?
I cannot.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, sir.
May the sergeant be excused.
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Sergeant.